Hi VC, it's Rob here with another video, and Happy New Year. 2023 it's here already, and at the beginning of the year in the vinyl community we have the vinyl tag, and last year Andrew Tales from the Crate didn't do a video, so I jumped in. I'm going to do the same again this year. I really enjoyed doing it last year. Watched as many videos as I could. And it doesn't matter if you've got 1 subscriber or 50,000 subscribers. Even if you don't have a channel, the vinyl tag is a great way to sort of do your first video. Everybody's answering the same questions, but we all show different records, and it's a lot of fun. So I've got 20 questions here. 2023 vinyl tag. The first question is your favourite new album of 2022. If you've not got a new album, reissue maybe, but preferably a new album that came out in 2022. So I'm going to show the Orioles and this album Tabaloo. So this album came out in October. It's a rough trade special release that comes on. It's a double vinyl. Comes on sort of purple vinyl, and I'm a little bit obsessed with watching best of the year videos. There's loads of them on YouTube. I've not got round to doing mine, and I've not seen anyone talking about this album, which I find really surprising. So the Orioles are from Halifax in West Yorkshire, which is only about 20 miles from me. 2 girls and a guy. And this is certainly a result of lockdown. Total change of direction. Very difficult to sort of put your finger on what sort of music it is. It's electronic in places, a sort of Brian Eno influence, but then think beach house, Flaming Lips, that kind of thing. There's some very long tracks on here, well over 8 minutes, 7 minutes, so change of direction, but it's a winner for me. So the album Tabaloo by the Orioles. Second question is, I wanted to show a record by the last person that you saw live. So I know in 2022 a lot of people in the VC started going to concerts again, but even if it was 10 years ago since you went to a concert, just show a record by that person. So I only actually went to 1 concert in 2022, a birthday present from my daughter. I went to see Paul Weller. So my favourite artist is Paul Weller, and this is his album from 2021, Fat Pop, which was a pretty good price on Amazon. I eventually picked it up. Comes on a yellow vinyl. So Paul Weller put a great show on. My daughter really enjoyed it as well. She's only 22, but she was singing along to Town Called Malice. But I don't remember him playing that many tracks from this album. Still getting into it. It's not a classic, but I wanted it in the collection. So the last person that I saw live was Paul Weller. Third question is, there's a lot of bands, artists, and people say the first album was the best album. So I want you to choose an album that is a band's best album, the first album. So I've chosen Coldplay and Parachutes. So from the year 2000. And I'm not someone who bashes Coldplay. I like most of their albums, but this is by far my favourite. Yellow, Don't Panic, Everything's Not Lost is a great final track. But yeah, for me, the best album was the first album, Coldplay and Parachutes. If you can, I want you to show me a hat trick. So if you've got the vinyl, the CD and the cassette of an album, then I'd like you to show it. Maybe you've only got a CD and an album, but just show what you've got. But I've got a hat trick of this album from 1997, Super Furry Animals and Radiator. Comes on a gatefold. So yeah, the second album by the Super Furry Animals from Wales. I've got the cassette. Been picking up quite a lot of cassettes in 2022, and I've also got CD. So can you do a hat trick? The cassette, the vinyl, and the CD. What is it? Question number 5 is, can you show me an album that begins and ends with the same letter? So I've chosen The Cure and 17 Seconds. Begins and ends with the letter S. So this is a promotional copy. This album features the track of Forest, which is probably my favourite Cure track. But yeah, this album begins and ends with the letter S. So just go through your collection. I'm sure going through your first cube you'll find an album that begins and ends with the same letter, but it's a bit of fun. Can you show me, question 6, someone who was born in the same year as you? So I was sort of racking my brains a little bit here, but then someone pretty obvious came to mind. So it's Graham Lambert, the guy in the white shirt there, from the band The Spiral Carpets. He was born on the 10th of July 1964. So I'm the 2nd of August 1964. So Graham's about 3 weeks older than me, but I went to school with Graham. So Graham was born in Chadderton like me, part of Oldham, and I grew up with Graham, and yeah, knew about the Spiral Carpets before a lot of people did. But yeah, great guy. I do see him occasionally. Graham Lambert, born in 1964. Question number 7 is the most listened to album of the year. So it doesn't have to be a new album, just an album that you probably picked up in 2022, but you just listened to it a hell of a lot. And this is probably a surprising choice for most people. So it's The Tubes and Remote Control. So I've had this album about 3 months and I can't stop playing it, from 1979. A bit of a concept album about television, produced by Todd Rundgren. Every track on this album I love, especially TV is King and the single Primetime. But if you haven't got this album, it's well worth checking out. I've listened to a lot of the Tubes this year, and yeah, band I've really been enjoying. So yeah, this album is the album that I've listened to the most in 2022. And on the same sort of theme, which artist have you listened to the most in 2022? So I had to think, and being honest, I think the artist I've listened to the most is Brian Ferry. I've really been listening to a lot of Brian Ferry, particularly over the last sort of 4 or 5 months. And I think he's the person that I've been listening to the most. So I think we kind of take Brian Ferry for granted. His albums are relatively cheap, second hand. Picked this one up for, you know, £3 or £4. It's a great album full of cover versions. And Brian Ferry is the artist that I've been listening to the most in 2022. Question number 9 is an Australian band. So over the last 10 years, I've been listening to a lot of music and getting into a lot of bands from Australia. So I just want people to show something by an artist from Australia. So I'm going to show Dope Lemon and this album from 2019, I think. So Dope Lemon is Angus Stone, and you know, Dope Lemon is very sort of chilled, laid back, sort of psychedelic dance music, if you like. You could play this at 4 o'clock in the morning and you won't wake the neighbours. It's so chilled. So certainly be getting into Dope Lemon, but there's countless Australian artists that I've been enjoying over the last 10 years. But yeah, be interested to see who you show. But yeah, Dope Lemon. Number 10, we're halfway there, and it's a surprising purchase. So can you show a record that maybe people would be surprised that you picked up? So I'm going to show Queen. So I've spoken about Queen many times, that I'm not a fan at all. But everybody sort of slags off this album, Queen fans. So I was intrigued. I saw it for a good price on a flea market. I knew quite a few of the tracks, Body Language, Under Pressure's on here as well, Back Chat. I'd give it 7 out of 10. Enjoyed it, Queen. And I think it's from 81, is it? Hot Space. Number 11, an artist that you're complete on. So I'm not someone who's a completist. There's, you know, only a handful of artists that I'm complete on. But I thought I'd show a band that have only ever released 3 albums, so quite easy to be complete on. So let's show Palace, this album from 2016, So Long Forever. This album from 2019, Life After. And this album from last year, Shoals. So if you think Palace, they're from London. If you think sort of Athletes, Embrace, Travis, sort of the end of a festival, relaxing in the sunshine, and listening to a bit of sort of indie pop, if you like. I don't think you go far wrong with Palace. A really new band that I really do enjoy. Where are we on to now? Number 12 is a great run of 3 albums. So just a run of 3 albums. It could be their last 3 albums, first 3 albums, 5th, 6th, 7th albums, but just a run of 3 albums. So I've decided to choose Elvis Costello and his first 3 albums. So his debut album, without the Attractions, My Aim Is True. And then his second album, This Year's Model. Great album. Followed by Armed Forces from 1979. So a run of 3 great albums. I want you to show an 80s soundtrack. So I've been listening to a lot of 80s music last year. I just thought it'd be fun to show a soundtrack. So this is Labyrinth, which features David Bowie from 1986. Not an easy one to track down. It's got the hype. I've had it 20 years. So yeah, an 80s soundtrack, Labyrinth, featuring David Bowie. Question 14, we lost them. So someone who passed away in 2022. And I've chosen Andy Fletcher, who was of course in Depeche Mode. So maybe their best album, Violator, from, trying to remember the year, was it 1990? But yeah, Andy Fletcher was only 60 years of age, and it was a big shock when he passed away on the 26th of May. So yeah, someone who passed away in 2022 was Andy Fletcher from Depeche Mode. A disappointing purchase in 2022. I made a few boo-boos. This was certainly a boo-boo. So it's Debbie, Harry and Blondie remixes. So I only paid £5 for this, and it's a double album. But it's got remixes of Denis and Heart of Glass and Rapture, The Tide Is High. I only played it once. Didn't like it at all. Maybe I need to revisit it. Maybe I wasn't in the mood, but at the time, it was certainly a big disappointment. So it's called One More Time, Into the Bleach, Debbie, Harry and Blondie. Disappointing purchase from 2022. A non-vinyl item, so a book, a CD or a cassette or something else. So I've got the Wet Leg album on cassette. So this is an album that everyone's, well not everyone, but a lot of people have put in the top 10 favourite records of last year. And yeah, maybe I wish I got it on vinyl. I might get it on vinyl. I don't pay the cassette that much, but yeah, came from nowhere, from the Isle of Wight, and interested to see what the next record is going to be like, but this is just full of pop punk, and yeah, it's a great debut album. A GRAIL. So I'm not really one for saying GRAIL, but just a record that you might consider it a GRAIL, or a record that you really were after, and when you saw it you thought, yeah, I'm going to pick that up. So very early in 2022 I found Metal Box by Public Image, which I think came out in 1978, and it's something I've been after for a long time, and when I saw it for a good price, it's got the original sort of flyer with it as well. I'm not going to get it out, but certainly when I saw it, for the price I got it for, I was really pleased. So Metal Box is a GRAIL that I picked up in 2022. Can you show me a space themed record? So a record that's got a rocket on the cover, or there's plenty of records that have got sort of a space theme. And if you can't find a jacket with a space theme, maybe a song. But I've got the perfect record for a space theme. It's Public Service Broadcasting and the Race for Space. So this is a fantastic concept album. Came out, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago. If you don't know anything about public service broadcasting, they use samples. I'm trying to think some of the tracks that are on here. I know there's a track called Gigari on here. Let's see if I can get this out. See if it gives us any information. So yeah, the Race for Space. Sputnik's on here as well. Fire in the Cockpit. Go. Gigari, like I say. Great album. And certainly a space-themed record. 2 to go. Show some VCLT or a present. So a lot of people in the VC receive VCLT every year, and if you haven't, then just show someone a present that someone got for you. But I was really fortunate at the beginning of the year, last year, to receive some VCLT from Norman Maslov. So Norman's friend Coleman passed away, and Norman was handling the collection, and he was giving some records away. And he gave me some great albums, Jailbreak by Thin Lizzy, a Joni Mitchell album, and also this great album by the band. So yeah, again, if you're watching this, Norman, thanks again for your generosity. It's pretty overwhelming. And the final question is, 50 years ago, show me a record from 1973. So I'm going to show John Martin and Solid Air. John Martin is an artist that over the last 2-3 years I've really been getting into, and this album is certainly my favourite from 1973. So that's the vinyl tag for 2023. Hope you've enjoyed it. Any comments, I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.